I personally would put my life in the hands of a drunk driver instead of a machine.
Oh, shit.
And they want a way to control the public. Now imagine it's
Self-drive.
2030, 2040, 2050 even, everyone's got a self-drive car. And suddenly they just bring it to a halt. The world would come to an end. It would be complete chaos and no one can drive. That's one way of just manipulating the world.
What would you do? Suddenly your internet's off, your phones are off. Man,
It's
this
true.
is bad.
It was an electric Kia or something. He showed me the range. It was like 150 miles to go. The second he turned the heater on, it dropped to 120. Heated seats dropped to 95.
And you know how, like, on a normal petrol car, you hit zero, so we've still got like 10 miles to go. When you hit zero on an electric car, breaking
Really?
down, Tesla Cybertruck, would you guys have one?
Absolutely not.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the GVE London Podcast. And today I have George and Andreas with me, and we're going to be talking about the latest stuff that's happening in the EV market. So the Tesla Cybertruck, would you guys have one?
Absolutely not. No
Why?
way. Okay, first, I think they look hideous. Secondly, yes, they may be quick, but I just massively have things against electric vehicles.
Why?
I don't think... We're supercar specialists. We specialize in natural combustion engines, naturally aspirated cars, even turbocharged cars and so on. But this is what we like. We like the whole vibration while you're driving, the whole engagement for drivers to get into it.
The noise.
Yeah, the noise,
Emotion.
the excitement, the emotion that you get with cars like this. You don't get that when you step into an electric car. You put your foot down. Granted, they are rapid. They are really quick. But
What's the fastest one that you've driven?
probably the Model X 100 Ludicrous D. It's either between that or...
Christie. What, like Limpert Christie?
No. Ludicrous. Yeah, ludicrous. It's Ludicrous D.
Ludicrous D.
Yeah, Ludicrous
okay,
D.
Fine.
100D Ludicrous.
Okay.
So
P100D.
P100D Ludicrous. So
Okay,
it has a ludicrous
fine,
back on it. It makes it super quick. It's
You
either
obviously
between
don't know
that-
anything about
We don't sell that. We don't sell that
No,
many
we don't.
Teslas.
Yeah, we don't like electric cars here. Or the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. That was quick.
Really?
Actually, this is a funny story. I remember you telling me about your test drive with John Terry in a Veyron.
Yeah.
Now imagine Thiago Silva, who speaks no English and is in the driver's seat of a Taycan Turbo S, absolutely foot down,
No
electric
way.
power. His babysitter in the back, his wife, who is lovely lady, but is as eccentric as they come, screaming
really?
in the back, egging him on. Buy it, buy it, buy it.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yeah.
How do I not know about this story, man? That's
We
crazy.
took the car to his house and yeah, he loved it. He loved it.
Wow.
So they ended up buying one. But even on the back of that, electric cars lack that emotion. And if you just want something to get you from point A to B, then they're brilliant. You get yourself a Tesla Model Y for 40,000 odd pounds and it does the job. But you don't go and spend big money over 100,
Yeah, it's
200,000 pounds
crazy,
on a car like that. That doesn't give you that emotion.
What's your thoughts?
Well, Thiago Silva's car, for example, the Taycan Turbo S, these cars were listing for 150, 160, and people that paid that money back in like 2020 when they first came out, thinking they're going to be this next big hit and they're going to go up in value and everything. Now these cars, they're 80 grand, so they've almost halved in value within 3 years,
They actually did go up in value when they came out.
They did, yeah.
They were
there was a
going for
slant.
20 grand
Well,
over.
I think the reason why that is because we couldn't get them, as in like, generally car production was slow, within the whole COVID situation. You just couldn't get any car, so I think that's why any car that was here would go up in value. But I think now it's just that massively how they've just plummeted, like you can get a Taycan now for under 50 grand, so
The equivalent of that model of Taycan would have been how much, let's say, for example, this time last year?
Yeah, I mean...
90?
90 grand, I mean, that's a base 4S, performance, like with a few options, 90 to 100 grand list.
But 1 second, what about these Turbo S's then? The Taycan Turbo S? That
Oh,
was
is-
a lot more
so
money
those
than
are
that.
the
Right?
ones-
160.
They were
Yeah.
trading for 20 grand over list, and you'd see them going
Yeah.
for 180. Now you can pick them up for 90 odd grand.
Really?
Yeah.
The Turbo S is still seen as like the highest level of the Taycan, so they've held onto the premiums a bit. The ones that have really lost big money are just the turbos, because it was almost neither here or there. It's like, okay, if you either want to go all out, you go with the Turbo S. You don't go for the one in the middle, which is just the turbo. But those were trading for 140, 150. And now, like, we've got another footballer's turbo in, and he's struggling to sell it. His balloon on the car at the moment is 120. And we've told him, if you really want to sell it, the retail price of the car is probably about 80, 85.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I might as well just run it till
Yeah.
the end of the agreement and give the car back.
Well, that's it. I think back in the day when they were selling for so much money, I think there was something to do with a lot of these cars were going abroad to like Pakistan or a few of the other countries in Southeast Asia because they were giving them massive tax breaks. So that's why Taycans were like in massive demand. You had premiums being paid. And now look at them. It's just nuts.
It's interesting. I think Thailand is still asking for some of them now, aren't they?
What, Taycans?
Yeah,
No way. I never knew
Taycan
that.
4S's. But they're really specific about the spec. Don't you remember we went out there and they said they wanted one with blue wheels, a blue interior, blue exterior, and it was just the most random spec one, but they're very picky about them. But if you have a look at the UK market online, they're either all white, black or grey.
Oh, yeah, just like Teslas, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
standard.
I know so many people that were putting deposits down, right?
Yeah. Well, they were asking for something as small as £100 to secure the car.
£100, right? And so I think I might even put a deposit down, right? But everybody's got the deposits back because they don't know if they're delivering them to the UK at the moment. They don't know if they're going to pass all the regulations. Is that right?
I think with the way the car's designed, if you look at all the cars in the UK, they're very specific to make sure that if they were ever to hit a pedestrian, they're safe enough to not kill them in one collision. If you look at the dynamics of the Cybertruck, it is the complete opposite. It is solid metal all the way around. I think there's a video of Matt Watson on CarWow, and he's jumping and kicking every panel on the car just to show that's indestructible. So
whatever car gets into an accident with that is 9 times out of 10 is going to be worse off, right?
I don't see that doing very well in the UK.
And it's probably quite big, right? It's so imagine it trying to get through, the small roads down here or countryside road. You probably get stuck between two trees.
That would make an awesome off-roading car, though.
Yeah, it would.
Going off hill on the beaches, on the mountains.
I wonder, with the paint, can you get it in different colours?
I think it's black or silver.
I think it's that machine sort of finished silver and then black, but
that machine finished silver, then I guess can still get scratched and stuff, right?
Well, I don't know if it's actually stainless or
because remember when they were kicking it and stuff.
Yeah, there was no scratches.
There's no scratches.
I'm sure they wouldn't have kicked a demo car knowing that's going to cause damage unless it said this is the selling point of it. Damage it as much as you want.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they first launched it and they were trying to show the strength of it, and then he ended up breaking the window?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember?
So
but now it's like bloody hell. I think it's the steel's so strong that it's almost bulletproof. Is that right?
Yeah. It's bulletproof, 9 mils or whatever it is.
So so it's not proper like if you get a machine gun to it, you can still go through it, but like a pistol.
A pistol.
I can see these doing really well in America because it seems like the perfect market for it. It's big roads. It's off-roading if needing, secure, bulletproof cars. But in the UK, like you rightly said, I think on smaller roads, it is going to be impossible to see these selling over there.
Well, the funny thing is, because of the protection aspect of it and how secure it is, we've actually had footballers inquiring, right?
Yeah, we've had some footballers ask us to see how quick they can get it, if they have to put a deposit down, how soon will they be able to spec it and get it delivered to them. But we can't. We'd love to take the money and say, let's just get the deal done, but they will not
get it.
They will. There's no guarantee if they'll get the car or not. So
it makes sense. You have a shit game, and then you're driving out the stadium.
You run over the fans. Start doing it.
No, I didn't mean like that. Like the fans, if they don't want to kick your car or something like that,
they want to kick your car. I'm going to run over them.
George. Okay. So
the funny thing is, you mentioned footballers. There is a correlation between footballers and electric cars. And it's funny to think, why do so many footballers go for this? We mentioned Thiago Silva. There's another footballer we've got, I won't mention his name, but he's selling it through us, electric car. We've got a lot of inquiries of people who like Teslas and they want to go into Porsche Taycans have been super popular with them.
Maybe it's the concept of, hey, look, I'm doing something for the environment. Yeah. I'm being really clean. But, on that note, there's actually research show that the actual production of a electric car is more harmful to the climate than
Normal combustion. Yeah.
combustion engine, and it's to do with the whole mining process of getting the natural resources that you need for the batteries, right?
So these are lithium batteries that they put into electric cars.
Yeah.
And then if you look into research into it, how much carbon dioxide is produced from the production of lithium batteries in comparison to just producing a normal car.
A normal
it's
car, and that
you
car
said,
running
it's
for
10x. Yeah.
Really?
And then that's not the worst of it. Once you're done with the car and then you try and dispose of those batteries, they're not recyclable. You can't take the battery and then recycle it and use it again. They dispose of it, and that is like as harmful to the planet as you can get out of any material out there.
That's crazy. So, I know that Tesla was meant to have the batteries, once they're done on the car, then you could use it to power your house or something like that. But I don't know. Really? Is that even happening? I don't think it's happening here for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That'd be interesting to find out, because if they do that, then I think it will really turn things around with electric cars. And I do find that with the massive crash in the market with electric cars, it has something to do with consumers actually questioning the longevity of electric cars. Is it something that's going to be as sustainable as combustion engine cars have been for the last 100 years?
Yeah, it's true.
I think what they're going to do is a lot like the phones now. You know, you get a new phone every year or 2 years. It's the same thing. You know, I think it might be the same with electric cars, is that they're just designed for like maybe a year or 2 years use, and then you just upgrade them. Yeah. You know, unlike petrol cars or diesel cars, which you can they go for miles, you know. But I think electric cars are just like these.
You need to change them every 6 months.
Yeah. But generally, you know, you can. That's why I think electric cars are more like these iPhones and stuff like that, you know. So.
But there's one thing that's pretty cool. You know the Cybertruck advert that they done that Elon just released? Yeah, that was brilliant. It's so cool the way that he shows the 911 going, and it's, you know, just outperforming the 911, and then he's like, that's not. Yeah. And he's like, that's not all of it. And then you see it towing another 911 behind it.
So I have to put my hands up. I literally just saw that before going into this podcast. So to think that, the Cybertruck is as heavy as it is, and on top of that is towing a trailer with a 911 on top of it. It's not just rapid on its own. It can carry weight. It's quicker than a 911, which most normal sports cars aren't. This is a truck. What else can you compare it to that can actually do that?
It'd be a shame if it doesn't come to the UK. It really would be. But I think my view is that this is the start of something, you know, that is going to become huge going forward, right? So actually, would you go for the first thing? Do you see what I'm saying? It's what's a good example of this? Like, okay, would you have gone for the first Tesla that they actually released when they initially
which were riddled with issues?
Yeah. So you're like, nah. Do you know what? I'll let them produce a lot more, get the problems out of the way, and then I'll go for it.
It's a good point. The first batch of these cars that always come out are almost part of their R&D. Where it's like, okay, now let's test it on the consumers and see which problems actually happen on daily use. So I think it's safe to say whenever something brand new is released that they've never done before, just be very careful about it. Maybe just sense how other people are doing it.
Porsche had that problem with the Taycan. You know, the first
early ones, yeah.
They had
so many issues, right?
And they were always heading back to Porsche dealers for fixing electrical problems, battery, and a various array of problems, not just the same issue. So because they had never done it before, you know, and they had done thousands of miles of testing, but they still, until you give it to the consumer, then you know exactly what the issues are, and that's how they're finding. That's another probably reason why maybe that affected the pricing on them. So you know
that's one. I mean, issues. You know, that is going to be a problem with these for sure. But something quite cool that I watched the other day. Have you seen the movie Leave the World Behind? It just came out.
On Netflix, yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw the whole load of Teslas crash.
Man, self-drive. Imagine, right, in a world where there's self-drive and somebody hacks into the self-drive mode and suddenly all the cars just suddenly go.
That's a movie. Yeah. Have you seen that viral clip of real life where I think he was in autopilot and the ECU of it somehow just bugged out. And it came off a driveway at like 30 or 90, like 90 or 80 miles an hour and crashed straight into another driveway. There's a viral clip. Surely you guys have seen this. Yeah. It was in America or something, and it comes driving off the driveway at full speed with no one in the car.
No, okay, let me tell you something. So then one of my son's friends' mums was driving one of the BMW full electric. What is it? 4x4 full
i4
electric.
or something, yeah.
Okay, so like i4, right? And she's driving and slowing down, and suddenly the car goes full pelt,
No
and she
way.
hits a wall at 70 miles per hour.
No
And
way.
only when it had an obstruction in front of her did the car stop, right? And luckily came out unscathed, didn't have the kids in the car. And, they went back to BMW and said, guys, look, this is this is your fault. This has happened.
It's enough to kill someone.
She's saying, I did not put my foot down on the accelerator, and that has done it itself, right? And they've just said, no, we've checked out the system, and it says it's your fault, right? So
Are you sure she didn't put her foot in the pedal, though?
Well, no, I spoke to her husband, but the point is that they are so adamant, and she is so adamant that was not her that done that they're taking them to court.
Is it one of those stories where the customer comes in saying that my missus just curved my wheels and she's adamant she hasn't done it?
Yeah. No. I think this is, you know what? She's up for going legal, so they're up for spending a lot of dosh to take
Women are
BMW.
up for
But
going.
yeah, how is it going to be? How's it going to be proven in court? That's the question. Like there must be some kind of black box that they have in, how they have in a plane, a black box, right?
Yeah.
That records the data of how that car was being driven at
But
that
that's
point.
the problem, and this is where it gets scary. If everything's electrical in the car, how do you know where the human interference is? If you're looking at this data from the black box, how can it not just say the pedal was used to so and so percentage, when really and truly it's automatically the internal ECUs is telling the car to accelerate? There's no way of knowing where the human interference was. So good luck on that one. That's where it gets scary with electric cars.
Yeah, the whole self-drive thing, I think we're still way too early. Yeah. However, to be fair, in a way, one day when that is the norm, in theory, it should lessen the amount of road accidents. Do you see what I'm saying? A bit lessen the amount of drunk drivers, let's say, for example, or I don't know, people that want to go joyriding and stuff like that. But they'll take the control away, and that's scary.
That's where you have this whole thing of AI taking over the world. This is part of it. I mean, you're now allowing the lives of yourself, the life of your family in the hands of essentially a robot, a machine.
That's scary.
Yeah,
you have no clue what suddenly it's going to learn or how it's suddenly going to trip out. I personally would put my life in the hands of a drunk driver instead of a machine.
Oh, shit.
I think because you have physical control.
But it all depends on how much he drank.
Yeah, okay, not good to be drink driving, 100% not good to be drink driving, but
drink driving.
That person is still physically in control. If you need to go and stop the steering wheel or turn it or get to the driver's seat and stop the car, you can do that. When a robot or this computer is in control of it, you could be sat there, like you were saying, your friend was sat there pressing the accelerator or the brake and it's not listening. That's when you've lost complete control. That's the
crazy.
worst feeling
That's
ever.
scary, man.
Yeah.
Scary. But look, do you guys think, right, with everything that's happened on the prices of these things, we've seen Taycans dump. We've seen what else? What other
Taycans, BMW i4s, i6s, whatever. They're not buying them back. EQC, EQSs. They're not buying them back.
Okay,
Mercedes,
so our friend that you know as well came down in his brand new EQE.
EQE, yep.
And the list on that was around 120, right?
Yes, yeah.
Got £40,000 off.
Yeah.
40
Yeah,
grand discount from brand new. And he's like, look, man, obviously I had to take that deal, right? And now with the EQ, I think it's the EQCs, right? You can get them on lease deals for like £340 a month.
With no deposit and no whole.
I think it's a bit of a deposit, but still, £340 a month. That's what we're paying for one of the Golfs downstairs.
They've had to put those cars into mass production for it to make sense for them. And now they've seen the market's dropped. People aren't buying them. They're trying to sell them back. So they're going to have to think of a way, how can we still get the consumers to buy it? And in a way, it makes sense for businesses who need these cars as like a fleet. For them, it makes perfect sense. It's cheap to run. Okay, yes, this is another talking point, but the infrastructure of the country is probably not quite
Not
there
not
yet.
all- not there yet. I mean, the US is much better equipped for this than we are, to be honest, right?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, you're driving down, let's say, a motorway, and you stop at a petrol station, and it's got one of those fast charging ports.
Yeah.
The queue you see there with electric cars
Is
just
that right?
parked up, waiting to get their cars
bloody
charged. Is it like, okay, it's cheap because you pay 30 odd quid to get the car fully charged, but you're having to wait the best part of 2 or 3 hours for a full charge?
No.
Yeah, 2
Well,
hours. Yeah.
This,
Forget
Who's
that.
got 2 hours to wait? Like, no. But also, the other day I got in an Uber to go into the city, and it was an electric Kia or something, right? And literally, he was showing me, he was talking about me about the car, and he's like, I would never buy an electric car again. I said,
Oh,
"How come?"
wow.
And he goes, because literally, he goes, and we couldn't drive with the heater on or anything, because the second, no joke, he showed me the range, it was like 150 miles to go. The second he turned the heater on, it dropped to 120.
Oh,
And then
my
he went with
God.
like a bit more like heated seats, dropped to 95. So two things of what you want to do, especially in the winter. Like he was driving along with fogged up windows. I'm saying, mate, can we turn the heater
That's
on?
the
Or can we-"
1-star Uber review straight
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
But even he was saying, goes, I would never buy an electric car again. And he's an Uber driver, and he goes, I got to sit and wait for 2 hours to charge this thing back up again. Whereas a hybrid, you know, you just go put fuel in and you continue going. Yes, you won't get a lot of electric charge, but he goes, he'll never buy an electric car again. But I was surprised that he just literally just turning the knob.
Listen to this. My wife likes finishing all the petrol on a hybrid Defender, right? So the petrol range is 0. And then she'll just stick it on charge and be like, look, I might just carry on driving it, right? And then it'll get down to 0. And you know how, like, on a normal petrol car, you hit 0, the
Got a
needle
few
goes to
miles
that
a reserve
doesn't mean the
tank,
end. You've still got the end credits to go, right?
Yeah.
So we've still got like 10 miles to go. When you hit 0 on an electric car, I think we're 4 or 5 times in on her breaking
Really?
down, and then we've had to go there, put some fuel in her car, and
wow.
yeah,
But I think on hybrids is actually quite a good
but a middle ground.
compromise,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think, but the problem is, on a hybrid, the actual range you get is hardly anything.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying?
It's true.
Yeah, oh man, on something like the Defender, I can't remember what variant it is, right? But it's a 5-door Defender hybrid. But she only gets on a full charge 30 miles.
Yeah, so it's the same when I've got the Range Rover Sport Hybrid, and that's at best 30 miles if you do a full charge. I've never given it a full charge. I only did it one time, and I got 15 miles on electric, and it was just, after that, was pointless. It's like, what's the point of charging the car?
Yeah.
And that was an overnight charge. So, yeah.
So those are the more run-of-the-mill cars, right? But now we're looking into the supercars, right? And Lamborghini has come out with the Lanzador.
Yep. Yep.
Now, I don't know, man. Honestly, like, they've shifted a lot of production towards the electrification of their range, right? And as such, the Revuelto, they had to give a lot of deposits back, and you know they're probably not going to make as many euros as they have before because they're shifting it to this. What do you guys think? I just can't see it. Why would I want a, what is it, 1200 brake horsepower Lambo? Is it a 4x4?
It's a 4x4.
Yeah.
So it'll be almost the replacement for the Urus going forward, but the electric version of it.
That's so rubbish.
But one thing that makes sense about it is, okay, you buy a supercar or a luxury car for the status of it, but the purist of buying that for the driving ability of the car is because of the speed. You get the speed freaks.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this podcast, we started off by saying how quick electric cars are, and there's nothing out there that can beat the speed or the acceleration of an electric car. So automatically, you could see supercar brands marrying up with electric cars because everyone wants to build the most fastest car. Everyone wants to build something that will beat the next person against you at the lights. And in order to do that, I think you do need electric power in.
But it's just taken all the emotion out of it, right? It's like sipping on a fine wine versus getting drunk really quickly on a bottle of Glen's vodka, right?
There's nothing bad with it.
You know, taking like 5 shots and it does the same thing, but you know, the enjoyment of one versus the other is totally different, right?
Yeah. So, okay, that's because we're into cars. We're going to say that. But you do get that consumer out there that is all about the speed. So I think there is a market out there for these guys to target. The same way...
I don't know, man. I reckon it's going to flop. I reckon it's going to take some... It looks nice. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think it looks awesome.
Lamborghinis,
What do you think? What do you think?
I think they're going to be one of the last manufacturers to push that EV barrier.
Do you reckon?
I think so. But also, I mean, you look at it like they said from 2030, you can not, now they've pushed that back to 2035.
Yeah.
So they're already there's already
doubts creeping up into people's minds, right?
And you know them at Lamborghini and Porsche that they're doing anything they possibly can to do as much as to push internal combustion somehow, so they will make sure they do. Maybe if there's a limited run of 1,000 cars they build, they can be some sort of internal combustion. I think they'll push as much as they possibly can to get some sort of alternative fuel source.
Lambo's not the only ones that have actually just released this crazy super fast electric car. Have you seen the Mission X by Porsche?
No.
So that's the 918 replacement. They've made it official. What? It's a fully electric hypercar. That's the 918 replacement. Now for Porsche, okay, we've seen it with the Taycans where they've crashed, which, to be honest with you, I don't think is a fair indicator to see of how well the car's done. We're going through a bad patch of the market, and unfortunately some cars are getting targeted a lot more than others. So the Taycans have made a lot of them, and there's a lot of them that have gone through businesses as fleet cars, and they're coming onto the market quicker. But I don't think that's a fair reflection as to how good the car is. Because if you ask anyone out there who's got a Taycan, 99% of them would say it's an amazing car. We're still selling them. Like, they're still really good.
Yeah, they're fantastic cars. And you're totally right. Every single friend that I've got that has one,
they've got good things to say about it, apart from losing 50, 60.
They've lost so much money on it, right? That all of them have said the same thing. Well, I've lost this one. I might as well just carry on bloody driving the thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, you drove the e-tron the other day. What do you think of that?
Okay, that was my first ever fully electric car that I've driven, right? I think I might have driven a Model 3 from, the Tesla Handover Bay down to here or something like that, right? But not, a full weekend of it. And this was a full weekend of driving it.
How many times did you have to charge the battery?
None. The battery's fantastic.
What was the range?
The range is ridiculous. It's like, on a full charge, it was like 400 miles or something like that. Am I being a little bit silly?
That's
I'm saying
crazy.
that. Maybe 350 miles or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it was
and that's with
brilliant.
your driving style. Like, you put your foot down.
Really? I'm driving Miss Daisy, mate. But no, I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought that the drive was nice. It's comfortable. Back in the day, right? Sitting in a Rolls Royce, the best thing was, look how smooth it is. Look, you can't hear the engine. You can't do this, that, and the other. And it's like you're flying. When you're putting your foot on the thing, it's like you're flying, right?
Yeah.
Mate, it's exactly the same feeling now, right?
Hit the nail on the head there. And with Rolls Royce, the ultimate Rolls Royce is something where you sit inside, you feel no vibration, you hear no noise, but it does the job and it drives smoothly. Now the Spectre.
Oh, man.
Anyone out there who likes Rolls Royce, we speak to any Rolls Royce brand ambassador, they say the Spectre is the best built Rolls Royce to date.
No way.
That is the ultimate vision of Rolls Royce, to make a silent car that has motors, that handles every bump on the road, and you feel as though you're sitting in tranquility in complete silence, but you still get from destination A to B as quick as you can.
So on that note, then, you know what? We're too far into it for this to ever go backwards. Like, oh shit, maybe this was a wrong experiment, right? There's no way that that's going to happen. I guess, is there another technology that you think that might come into this and disrupt it? Because I think there's some talk about like hydrogen fuel cell or something like that.
Surely hydro-powered cars is the natural takeover from electric. Because like we were saying at the beginning, electric cars they're not exactly carbon neutral. So it sort of defeats the purpose of building electric cars to create a more environmentally friendly world. That doesn't make sense. So surely they have to replace it with something much more quicker, or invent these batteries that they can recycle and use. So I don't think that's the end game. But hydro-powered cars would be awesome if they make those. That's essentially the cleanest way you can drive a car. Are there any brands out there who've talked about hydro? I know Porsche were looking into it for a while, but they had to bring a halt. In fact, this is interesting. I was sat with an engineer. I think this engineer worked for an Airbus manufacturer, an aeroplane company. And he was telling me that hydropower was introduced decades ago.
Oh, really?
And they were trying to build it into building these jets.
Uh-huh.
But something that made hydro combust, some form of chemical, they couldn't contain it. They couldn't contain it within the system, which is why it was dangerous, and they couldn't bring it.
So So hydrogen is extremely flammable. So I think that's the key thing, that these cars, the technology is there, but if you get into an accident with the thing, there's no saving you.
Yeah.
Right, and that is pretty damn scary.
100%. I think once they overcome that and they figure out how to use it, that makes for a much less populated or polluted world, I should say, actually.
Man, personally, I don't think cars are the biggest problem in the world for
pollution.
I think I reckon there's a lot more to do with the industry, to waste that's being pumped into the sea. All that kind of stuff is a lot worse than cars. But maybe that's just my 2 cents.
I think it's the easy way of finding something to target and someone to blame.
Yeah, control it, raise more taxes out of it. There's so many different ways.
I mean, if we're talking about conspiracy theories, then they want
a
way to control the public. Now imagine it's 2030, 2040, 2050 even, everyone's got a self-drive car.
Mate.
And suddenly, I mean, even to this date, everyone has a car or knows someone who has a car, so they are going to be in a car at some point. The world would come to an end. It would be complete chaos if self-drive cars are a thing and they just bring it to a halt and no one can drive. That's one way of just manipulating the world. Well, that's a very far-fetched.
Well, no, this movie, Leave the World Behind, was actually, what would you do if suddenly your internet's off, your phones are off, you're not able to, your electricity and no connection to the satellites and this and that. It's like, fuck, man, this is bad. Right?
Yeah.
But
it shows how dependent we are on technology now. I mean, go back 100 or 200 years and people be laughing at us thinking, you guys actually human. Right? What are you talking about?
Well, look, the way the speed at which AI is going, it almost feels like it might even take over the world at some point. They've had to put the brakes on it, because the guy who made ChatGPT, Sam Altman, I think his name is, and
he's scared of it at the moment.
He has turned around and said, guys, we've developed something which is developing at such a fast pace now. I think we should really kind of slow it down and get some governance for it and whatnot. But, the problem is it can't be stopped now. So AI and cars, I think that is going to be the next big thing.
But while you're talking, have you seen this movie called Machina?
No.
Watch it.
Really?
That's literally what it's all about. AI getting out of control.
Really?
Where suddenly they now develop emotions. They develop more human-like features that differentiate it from a robot or from a computer to an actual human being. But that
you know what the OG movie is, right?
iRobot.
No, man. Come on. I'm showing my age a little bit. It's Terminator. Terminator was all about this. And imagine that was made in the early 80s or... early 80s it was made. But okay, guys, off the topic of EV, and I'm sure we'll be discussing it in another podcast, but onto what the supercar market's doing at the moment. So, Andreas, tell me.
Well, I mean, the car that I want to talk about is the Ferrari 488, which is always been and will always be a big seller for us here at GVE. We buy a lot of them, we sell a lot of them, but at the moment, it's a car that just seems to have really slowed down a bit. There's 127 on the market today, and that is
wow.
But number one, that's the most Ferrari out of all Ferraris on the market. And second is the California with 100 cars, and the third is the 458, which is 97. So there's a lot of 488s on the market.
And look, you'd know this market quite well, but last year, let's say this time last year, how many 488s would there have been on the market?
About probably 60.
So it's doubled.
Yeah, there's a lot of 488s
on the market,
and I'm trying to sort of understand why this is happening. You know, of course, as George said before, the market is shifting, the prices are dropping on everything, but specifically the 488s there's a lot of people trying to get out of them, you know, so, and prices are dropping. Like, then, for example, the cheapest one on the market now is 128,995 for 488 GTB. I mean, that's even
128.
Yeah.
That is so much car for the money, though.
That's
But
crazy,
also,
isn't it?
interestingly, right, that car has had an 8% price drop since July this year. So it has gone down £11,000. The car's been on the market almost 6 months, and it hasn't sold.
Still hasn't sold.
You know,
But is there an equivalent model of car that is selling? So like the biggest competitor for an 8 would be a Huracan, right?
Just about to say, the Hurricanes are still selling really well.
Hurricanes
One
are
of our
doing well.
best-selling cars.
Wow.
It is.
But I
Isn't
think
that crazy?
it comes to the point where, like, a 488 is an amazing car to drive, but you want a car that has that noise, that has that emotion, that is a real wow factor as it drives past. The 488 is probably more of a driver's car than a fashion statement, whereas a Huracan appeals at every market. It appeals your women who want a supercar. It appeals your footballers or people who've just come into new money. They would naturally go for a Lambo than they would do for a Ferrari. Ferrari's a bit more of a driver enthusiast car. And I think that market is probably a bit slow at the moment because they are a lot more careful with their money.
So, go on.
I was going to say, but also maybe another factor for the 488 is the issues they had this year with them getting stolen.
So
Of
of
course,
course.
I think maybe a lot of people have seen those and panicked a little bit and gone, "Oh, I need to get out of my 488." So maybe there's another reason why
That's a very good
a lot
point.
of people are getting out their 488s.
Do you know what I still can't understand is the amount of people that don't put the correct tracker on their cars. And now we're kind of saying actually a ghost system isn't that bad. You know, you should probably stick a ghost on it as well. But ultimately, it's a weird one. How such a good car can come down in value so much is beyond me.
It's interesting.
Perfect time to buy it, though.
But the funny thing is, okay, so you relate it to cars being nicked and the insurance valuations and so on. But then you go up a notch and you say, okay, the 812 Competizione or the 488 Pistas, which still seem to be holding their value fairly well.
Okay.
So the run, I mean, if you can call it a run-of-the-mill Ferrari, a 488 is like their normal production car, seems to be affected a lot more than some of their special cars.
Wow.
Which is, an interesting comparison. So I think...
I guess there's the amount of them available on the market. But, you know, I always think with these things, it has to be a floor price, as in we can't go lower than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, 128 grand. Mate, I can't see the 488s going to 115 or 100. That just McLaren's on the other hand, look, the floor, we don't know where the bloody floor is, right?
To an extent,
yeah.
I think with the 12Cs, the lowest they've ever got to is probably about 60, 55 in the trade. So
Yeah.
I don't ever see the McLarens falling lower than that.
Yeah.
But on the 488s, they've hit, like during COVID or just after COVID, they hit about 125, 130.
Yeah.
So I think right now they're at the lowest they've ever been.
Yeah.
But this, in my opinion anyways, I think this is the worst of the market for the moment.
Yeah.
We are going to now start seeing it pick back up again
100%.
going into the new year.
Yeah.
So
Better weather, you know,
someone who picks up a 488 now, today,
bargain.
holds on to it,
Perfect
sells it in the spring,
Yeah.
they are going to be laughing. That is 5,000 miles, free driving, maintenance covered, and probably still making a quick drink on it too.
That's crazy. Huh? Okay, so a new segment to the podcast is what's been going on at GVE over the last week. And last week we had our annual Christmas party, and it was fantastic, to say the least. We didn't drink too much, right? And we didn't party.
We had a Christmas party last week?
Okay. But we didn't drink too much, and we didn't party too much. But we've got some clips to show you guys. Hope you enjoy. Boom.
Screen and the feeling of the car is just unreal. It's so real on the drive and the track. I would highly recommend all Creative F1 systems.
Can't wait to get on it and smash everyone.
So yeah, that was quite a good Christmas party. What did you have to say about that then?
Well, I think it's fairly evident that I enjoyed it. I think everyone enjoyed it. But
You enjoyed it a little bit more than most.
The funny thing is, we spoke about it afterwards, and to date, that was our best Christmas party so far. So smashed it.
Yeah, no, smashed it.
100%.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of camaraderie. You know, obviously the alcohol lets us bring our guard down a little bit for those of us that do drink. But you know, we went to the F1 simulator was fantastic.
Amazing.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
So good, right?
recommend that.
Yeah, 100%, right? I think
There's some
anybody watching
dirty
this.
races here, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know.
I would
know.
have got first.
Yeah.
Just got pushed off on the start line as I'm overtaking everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Any other
sickening
excuses?
behaviour.
Yeah. Any other
No,
excuses?
it's terrible. It just shows their natural
Yeah.
personality.
Oh wow. Okay.
Disgusting.
But yeah, and actually we want to give a shout out to the restaurant that we went to, Mother's in Richmond. That was fantastic.
Really good food.
And a perfect venue to have so many of us down there.
Thanks for having
loud.
us.
Apologies for
Yeah,
anything
sorry.
that happened.
Yeah,
that
sorry.
night.
Loud jobbos in a nice,
normally
peaceful
like
Indian
that.
restaurant. Yeah. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you do, please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, see you later. Bye.